Well, well, well. Today is a brand new day. And the standard we're going to learn for today is Public Speaking School. Now, children, I'm aware this is our first public speaking school with this brand new format. We're going to do the best we can. We will get used to it. Things will be okay. First, let me go over the student assignments and our very brave students who are giving these first new assignments in this new form of public speaking school. Giving our public talk entitled A Nightmare Come True is going to be Mr. Patrick Bauer. Handling our brand new return visit part will be Miss Mirabelle Crava and Candice Wanderson, I think. And handling our Watch History article, our reader for today, is Miss Mara Garcia. So we're going to go ahead and get started and invite up our first student speaker as he gives the talk, A Nightmare Come True. Let's give a big round of applause to Mr. Patrick Bauer.
Please turn to page 360 in your social studies books. The Treaty of Versailles was signed in France on June 28, 1919, ending World War I. Many leaders in Europe and the United States felt like the reparations imposed upon Germany were penalties. As a result of Germany's economy suffered greatly during the 20s while America prospered. There became a substantial sympathy which extended in many cases to a respect expressed in his fiery speeches. Germany's new leader, under economic stress, plus a web of European alliances, could create a number of treaties to be activated, formed the aftermath of World War I, and turned Europe into a kind of powder keg, just waiting for someone to light the match and cause the continent to explode into war once again. This is exactly what happened and why people were so fearful of a Second World War. A German leader named Adolf Hitler said he could solve country's problems. He led a political party called the National Socialists, or Nazis. The Nazis believed in fascism. Under fascism, the government controls the economy, culture, and all parts of the people's lives. The Axis powers were Germany, Italy, and Japan. The agreement between them was mostly to ensure each of the country's individual interests, and there were not much communication between them. Germans and Japanese allied largely to oppose Russia and communism, and the Germans and Italians shared similar fascist ideas concerning Western democracies. World War II began because of the political and economic upheaval caused by World War I. A combination of political differences and bitterness about the devastation caused by the war, reparations inflicted on Germany by the Treaty of Versailles had a large impact. Other factor was the rise of the war machine, the mass production of weapons and munitions with new assembly line productivity, which allowed armies to become powerful in a very short period of time. World War I was responsible for the sharp increase in factory production technology. This allowed Adolf Hitler to securely turn Germany into a war economy in a very short period of time. The world was stunned to watch Hitler's rise to power. The attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941 had a devastating impact on the Americans and made them very eager to enter World War II. After they watched in horror as news footage arrived of images of bombs being dropped on their American ships anchored at docks. Simply stated, America wanted revenge. The next day, the American Congress voted unanimously to approve Franklin Delano Roosevelt's war resolution against Japan, and just 2 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor, America finally joined the war as an allied power. Survivors of World War I had been told over and over again by their leaders that war would not happen and that their government would protect them, which turned to be completely untrue. When it became clear that a world war would happen against the late 1930s, the leaders of the government in Europe all told their people the same things, that the government would protect them and that war would be avoided. It just seemed like a nightmare, like deja vu, for people who had suffered through the First World War. Only this time, the devastation would have considerably worse and millions more lives would be lost. Thank you.
My goodness gracious. I like this new format because I can look you dead in your eye. For a guy who didn't know that he had a talk until yesterday, even though I had sent you all this information before, buddy, that was a fantastic public talk. I mean, fantastic. I really like how you came up here and you did not read the questions out loud to us. You just answered it. You came up here and gave a speech. And then your insight, talking about, especially that last question, how the people who fought in World War I, they were constantly told by their leaders, this won't happen again, this won't happen again. And then their worst nightmare came true. Man, for someone who just got that part yesterday, you seem like you had been working on that for an entire month. That is honestly how good that talk was. The only pointer I could give you is that speak a little louder. It was a great talk, but I don't know if people like Azion in the back heard it. But it was, other than that, that was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You might squeak out an assembly part after that. Let's give Pat a big round of applause. Now, when we watch football, some of us in here I know we watch it, the most important part for a lot of people during a football game is not the touchdown, it's not the celebrations, it's not even the first downs. Everybody starts the game with the return. And so we're going to have our brand new part, the return visit. And during this return visit, please pay very close attention to how Mirabelle helps to answer Candace's question. And they are going to do this right in front of the audience, here in front of all of us. Let's please give our attention to Candace and Mirabelle.
Hello, I am Mirabelle Crava, and today I'm going to be giving the return visit with my assistant, Candace. Sorry. Okay.
Who was Adolf Hitler?
According to the page 306, the book says, after the German leader named Adolf Hitler said that he could solve the country's problems. He led a political party called the National Socialists, or Nazis. The Nazis believed in fascism. Under fascism, the government controlled the economy, culture, and all parts of people's lives. In 1933, the Nazis took power in Germany. Hitler ruled as a dictator. A dictator is a ruler who has total control of the country and its people. Hitler wanted to build a powerful military and to make Germany a strong nation. A little more to add to that is that Adolf killed many Jewish people. Adolf said that he could solve the country's problems since this was taking place after the Great Depression. Millions of people suffered from the loss of jobs and struggled to get money for their families.
But how many Jews died from that?
About 6 million people died because of Adolf Hitler's actions.
What is fascism?
In 1933, when the Nazis took power in Germany, Hitler was a director. He wanted to build a powerful military and make Germany a strong nation. Fascism is a system that the government controls the economy and the other big parts of people's lives.
When did fascism start?
Fascism started in the 1920s. It originally came from Italy. Overall, this is a very important topic, and we need to know who caused it and why it happened. Fascism is what was taking over Germany's citizens, and Adolf Hitler took away many innocent people's lives. This is who Adolf Hitler was, and when fascism started. Thank you for listening to our public talk. Titled Return Visit.
Right. I will say, for the very first time that part has ever been done in public speaking school, I really enjoyed it. What I really liked about you two's return visit was that you used the book. So you showed not only Candace, but you showed all of us where to find information about Adolf Hitler. And also, you asked some really good follow-up questions. And one thing that I really enjoyed about that was that the follow-up questions that you asked built on the topic. Not only did you learn exactly who Adolf Hitler was, but then you also talked about some of the consequences of his rulership. And it kind of naturally led into the question about fascism. So I really enjoyed how you broke that down. I really enjoyed seeing that from you, Mirabelle, being the conductor, because you had the full weight of the part on you, whereas Candace was kind of just your assistant in there. And I thought that for never seeing this done before, and for you all setting the standard, I thought that was a very good starting point. So now we are going to move on to our Watch History article. And this is the part where you all as a class get to participate. And we are going to go immediately into the part. For our reading today, we have Mrs. Mara Garcia joining our reading. And we will not delay. Please open up your Chromebooks to your Watch History article and be prepared to answer. And Miss Mara Garcia, can you go ahead and please read paragraph 1 for us?
Yeah, it's just, before I start, I just have to say the other talks were amazing, so that I just have to give them a round of applause. That was amazing. So I just have to say. Okay, and so for my part, I'm going to read the Watch History article and U.S. involvement in World War II. So let's get started. Okay. World War II broke out in 1939 and was a war that many people dreamed would never come to pass. However, treaties, alliances, and political policies led to the breakout of the deadliest war in human history. The Treaty of Versailles put all the responsibility of World War I on Germany, causing huge inflation, leaving the German economy in ruins and German citizens starving. The Treaty of Versailles led the Germans embracing the fascist Adolf Hitler, who promised to return Germany to its former glory by taking over Europe. Meanwhile, Japan sought to take over Asia through imperialism. The aggression of Germany and Japan led to the allied countries of France and Britain to declare war, starting World War II.
Okay. You don't have to clap after every paragraph. So, paragraph 1, and please remember, once again, before we get started, this is participation from everyone. Hopefully, you filled out the article and you did your part. So, we're going to go ahead and ask question 1. And it reads, how did treaties, alliances, and political policies contribute to World War II? All right. Bauer?
The Treaty of Versailles made Germany in the 1920s, while America was having their roaring 20s, suffer greatly, which made Adolf Hitler want to get revenge for Germany and start World War II.
Thank you for your comment. In the back right here, let's go with Miss Kennett.
Treaties and alliances and political policies contributed to World War II because the Treaty of Versailles created aggression of Germany and Japan, which led to allied countries, France and Britain, to declare war.
Okay, so we've heard about Germany. Does anyone have a comment on why Japan got aggressive? What about Japan? Why Japan? Okay, let's get in the back right here. Mr. Ellis.
Japan got aggression because after the treaty, the United States stopped shipping goods to Japan.
Okay, and further on that, let's get Harry.
Japan got aggressive because they were running out of natural resources and they needed more.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to paragraph 2, please.
Okay, paragraph 2. The reason for German aggression in Europe was because Germany wanted revenge for what the European Allied powers had to the Germans through the Treaty of Versailles. Germany was looking for a leader and found Adolf Hitler, who blamed the Jews for the German sorrow and used the Nazi Party for revenge and imperialism. The Japanese were aggressive in Asia because Japan was a small island nation who needed natural resources like oil, iron, and rubber, and they wanted to become a superpower in the world. Japan invaded China, Vietnam, and Korea to try to rule Asia.
Okay, question 2. What were the reasons for German and Japanese aggression in Europe and Asia? Okay, Ms. Garcia.
Well, as it says in the paragraph, it says the reason for German aggression in Europe was because Germany wanted revenge for what the European Allied powers had to the Germans through the Treaty of Versailles. And for Japan, it says right here, the Japanese were aggressive in Asia because Japan was a small island nation who needed natural resources like oil, iron, and rubber.
Okay, all right. Further on that, thank you for that comment, Ms. Garcia. Further on that, okay, let's get Ms. Grant in the back.
The Japanese were under aggression because they were on a small island and they didn't have the resources they needed, such as oil, iron, and rubber. They also wanted to be the superpower of the world. Germany's aggression was because Germany wanted revenge for what the European Allied powers had to the Germans through the Treaty of Versailles.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Okay, let's get further. So we've talked about why Germany was aggressive and why Japan was aggressive. what about some of the actions of Japan? What were some of the things that Japan did? And if you have some personal research that you've done, you can let me know. What were some of the things that Japan did? Okay, Graham?
Japan scarred America by doing Pearl Harbor, and in turn brought America and made Germany's job a lot harder by having to defeat America.
Okay, all right, I like that comment. That's a little further in our lesson, but that's good. That shows the aggression that Japan was showing and ended up leading to them attacking America. But in the paragraph, before Japan attacked America, what were they doing in Asia? Okay, Will, right here.
They're trying to get resources from Asia and taking over land because, like someone said, Japan was a small island and they needed more resources, so they had to take over more land and get their resources that they didn't have.
Okay, I love it. What were some of the places in Asia that Japan went? Will talked about how they were invading, trying to take land. What were some of these places that Japan was trying to take land from? Okay, Hannah.
Korea.
Okay, so Japanese invaded China, Vietnam, and Korea. Remember, this all came from them wanting natural resources, and what Graham brought out, it eventually led to them attacking America, but that may have been a bad move because that involved America into the war, and we're going to read later on about how that attack went down. Can we get the reading, please, of paragraph 3?
Yes, we can. Hitler was not the only dictator in Europe. Italy's leader, Benito Mussolini, was also a fascist who agreed with Hitler's ideas. Nationalism, imperialism, and racism were all the factors that led to the rise of dictators in Europe.
Okay, question 3. What factors led to the rise of dictators in Europe? Okay, Mr. Hartkin.
The factors led to the rise of dictators in Europe were nationalism, imperialism, and racism.
Okay, so nationalism, imperialism, and racism. Can someone tell us what nationalism is? If we remember, what is nationalism? Okay, Tochi.
Love for one's country.
Okay, extreme love for one's country. What about imperialism? What is imperialism? When you think about the Japanese, what they were doing, Will mentioned it, they were trying to do this. It was very imperialistic. They were doing what? Let's go with Austin.
Imperialism means they want like power, like force, like they wanted to take over countries.
I love it. I love it. And last but not least, racism. Jared, Mr. Mathey.
Racism is like other people disrespecting like how other people's skins are and telling about their skins
All
color.
right, I love it. People having disrespect for you just based on your skin color. I'm sorry, we got to move on. Let's go on to paragraph 4, Mara.
A country decides to go to war for several reasons. In the case of World War II, many countries went to war because their allies were attacked by another country or a set of countries. Some countries go to war for imperialism or to gain more land, while others go to war to protect their own interest. America can only go to war if Congress approves it and a formal declaration of war is made.
Thank you for your reading. Question 4. How and why does a country decide to go to war? Okay, Candace.
A country decides to go to war because of harsh punishments or people not liking some of the laws.
Okay, all right. I like it. Further on this, let's go to Will.
Someone, as it said in the passage, countries can go to war because of what they had to protect their interests, and they can go to war because of one's country's actions against the others
Okay,
as revenge.
I like it. Let's talk about America. What protocol does America have to follow if they choose to go to war? What has to happen? Bauer.
Another country must want revenge and must do something to America that makes America want to join the war and help the Allied powers.
Okay, that was the case of World War II. But even in World War II, what did what did the government have to do before they actually went to war? What do they have to do? Mirabelle.
Congress has to approve a formal declaration of war.
Okay, all right. So before this country can go to war with anyone, Congress has to approve it. They got to get in front of Congress, and then that's when they declare war on another country. We got to move on. Let's go to paragraph 5.
Okay. Famous historical leaders during World War II include FDR or Franklin D. Roosevelt, Joseph Stalin, Winston Churchill, Hirohito, Harry Truman, Benito Mussolini, and Adolf Hitler. FDR was the beloved president of the U.S. during the start of the war, but died before its conclusion. Joseph Stalin was the leader of the Soviet Union, or the USSR, Russia, who started out teaming with Hitler, but later switched to the Allied powers when Hitler betrayed him. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, America's chief ally in the Anglo-American world power, while Hitler led Germany, Hirohito ruled Japan, and Mussolini ruled Italy as the fascist Axis powers.
Okay, question 5. Who were some important historical figures in World War II? We can get a lot of comments on this. Okay, let's go with Mr. Bethea. Give me one.
Okay, when Hitler invaded Poland in September
Oh,
1939.
no. Question 5.
Oh,
Who
question
were some
5?
important historical figures in World War II? Okay, well, while he's finding that out, let's get someone else. Okay, Kyle, I saw your hand. Give me one of them.
Joseph Stalin.
Who was he?
Was the leader of the Soviet Union.
Okay, all right. Further on this is a big paragraph. Okay, Garcia.
We had FDR, who was the beloved president of the U.S. during the start of war before he died.
Okay, all right, I like it. We got Stalin, FDR. Let's go to the back again, Mr. Harkin.
We also had Adolf Hitler, the dictator, the leader of Nazis.
What country?
Oh, in Germany.
Okay, all right. Ellis.
Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, who was allied with the U.S.
Okay. And when Britain and the U.S. get together, what is that called? They're called the what? Britain and U.S. together is called the what?
Allied.
Will?
Powers.
It's the Allied powers, and then what's the other name in the paragraph? What's the other name in the paragraph? They form the what? It's
The League
written
of
in the
Nations.
paragraph.
The League of
Someone
Nations.
Wait,
written in the paragraph.
The League
They're
of
both
Nations.
part of the what? Ellis.
Anglo-American world power.
Okay, all right. And who is the last leader? Well, no, we got 2 more identified here. Hannah, give me one of them.
Did we already get Benito?
We didn't, so let's talk about them.
Benito Mussolini was the dictator and was part of the party of the Nazis, and he is the leader, the dictator of Italy.
Okay, I like it. He was working with Hitler. He was the dictator, the fascist dictator over Italy. And then one more person we've got to identify. Okay, Austin.
Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Well, no, he was the first one.
We already did that one too.
Thank you for your comment. One more person. Okay, Graham.
I think I don't know how to pronounce Hirohito. I think
Hirohito.
he was responsible for poor. He was the ruler of Japan.
Okay, all right. Gosh, we are running out of time. All right, let's go on to paragraph 6.
Okay, on December 7th, 1941, the United States was attacked on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by the Japanese military. The U.S. had placed an oil embargo on Japan, not allowing Japan to receive oil, and this led to the attack. The U.S. was aware that the Japanese would probably attack, but did not know when. Over 2,000 people died in the attack, making it the most devastating loss of American life on U.S. soil until 2001. As a result of this, FDR said, "This is a day that will live in infamy, famous for an awful reason." This event led to the U.S. entering World War II.
Okay, all right. Question 6. Why did FDR say December 7th, 1941 was a day that will live in infamy? Why did he say that? Okay, Emery.
Because of how Japan attacked them, and because of their loss of resources because they took.
Okay, further on that. Mr. Harkin.
FDR said December 7th, 1941 was the day that will live in infamy because of Pearl Harbor.
Okay, details on what happened in Pearl Harbor. We know he said it because of Pearl Harbor. What happened? What happened? Sydney.
So the Japanese, they were taking their planes and they were crashing into the ships at Pearl Harbor.
Okay, that's an example of one of the attacks. Azion. They bombed what?
They bombed the boats, the ships.
Okay, all right. Now, so we know they attacked, the Japanese attacked. What was the result? What happened? How many people were lost? Mr. Bauer.
A lot of people were lost. Over 2,000 people died in the attack, making it a devastating loss for American lives on the U.S. soil until 2001.
Bonus question. What happened in 2001 that outdid Pearl Harbor? What happened in 2001? Miss Garcia.
The 9/11 incident.
Okay, the 9/11 attacks. And now for our last question, we have a picture below. And question A, what is represented, or what historical event does this picture represent? We're looking at our picture. What historical event does that picture represent? Okay, Mr. Williams. No, I mean Austin Williams.
The bomb that bombed Pearl Harbor.
Okay, so this is a picture of the attack in Pearl Harbor. And for our B question, what are some facts about the picture or the event pictured below? This is where you tell me some facts that you learned about the Pearl Harbor attack. Well, let's start with Mr. Bethea.
What happened was that a lot of people died, and then so stuff caught on fire, and then like interesting facts.
Well, that's pretty good, okay? All right, let's go to our next. Candice.
So one fact is that the Japan they surprise attacked surprise attacked the U.S. because if they didn't do it in a surprise attack, they knew that the U.S. would defeat them.
I love that. And I am sorry. That's all the time we have for the Watch History article. I will say this. I am highly impressed by how you all did on that article. I am very pleased with how you all did in this new format of public speaking school. I would like to thank my reader for her reading. I would like to thank all my students who had assignments today. And what a great audience for that Watch History article. I know I bury your class all the time, but today y'all showed me something real special. So I'm looking at second semester and I have high hopes. So please give yourselves a big round of applause. Because you all, and I'm sorry we can't play Kahoot today because we're out of time, but you all helped to make it a very special time.